Have you ever wanted to create your own handicapping dream team? You can build your own superstar handicapping lineup using our Pick Your Team program at both WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com. Even more exciting, until Monday, September 12th at midnight, you can save 10% off Pick Your Team using coupon code PYT10 when checking out. Dave Koken, Marco D'Angelo, and Ralph Michaels, JM Sports, Joseph D'Amico, and the Rocket Man. The combinations are endless as you can choose 5 handicappers. You start saving once you choose any 2 handicappers of your choice, and you can pay as under $6 per handicapper. Who will make up your dream lineup? Go to WagerTalk or Sports Memo, click Pick Your Team, and personally hand select your handicapping roster. Don't forget that coupon code PYT will expire on September 12th, so get your 10% discount and put together your personalized dream team today.
We are live, and we are 100,000 subscribers here on WagerTalk TV on YouTube. Thank you to everybody that's been watching us on a daily basis. Special thank you to everybody that's hit subscribe, because as of this morning, we are the only sports wagering channel that's only a verified check mark, but also 100,000 subscribers and growing. Next stop, 1 million. And Teddy Covers is with me as always, my co-host. I'm Steve Merrill. This is WagerTalk Today for Thursday, September the 8th, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, live every day, archived 24/7. And don't forget about the WagerTalk TV app on your favorite device. That doesn't even include the 100,000 subscribers. We've got audio listeners as well. You can listen to it on your favorite podcast app. And by the way, Teddy, I looked yesterday. We hit 29 million views all time here on the channel yesterday. One day later, 100,000 subscribers. I am Steve Merrill. That's Teddy Covers. I'm in for the Prez, who is out celebrating because we hit 100,000. It's ironic that he's not here the day we hit it, but he's here in thought. He's here in spirit. Adam Trigger is going to lead us off today on Thursday, a little baseball and some college football. Also, Jimmy Adams with some college football. And Kelly in Vegas, Kelly Stewart with college and pro football. Lots of football, but before we get to that, Teddy, it is opening night in the NFL. Buffalo at the Rams. The defending Super Bowl champs are a home dog. I've done this now for 27 football seasons since I started in 1996. I don't recall ever seeing a Super Bowl champ as a home dog in game one. What are you going to learn tonight? Did you learn anything yesterday as well?
Well, first, I want to say thanks to everyone for giving us 100,000 subscribers. I've never been on a YouTube channel with 100,000 subscribers before. That's pretty cool. Thank you. Of course, the next goal is not 1 million, it's 101,000. So we'll get there. That being said, so I had a call. I got a call from my buddy, a guy who I've known since I was in Ann Arbor back in the day, and this guy was jacked up for week 1 of the NFL season. There's 16 games. He had an opinion about 15 of them. He was making parlays, teasers, money lines, totals. If you've been making bets all summer, it's reasonable to have a pretty substantial week 1 portfolio. If you have not been making bets all summer and you're taking your first look at the NFL lines, your first serious look at the NFL lines this week, week 1 is not for peppering the board. We don't know anything about any of these teams yet, not for real. At the end of week 1, there's going to be at least 2 teams you thought were going to be awful that were impressive. And at least 2 things you thought were going to be 2 teams you thought were going to be good that looked awful. Week 2, classic overreaction week. Week 3, classic overreaction week. And if the dogs aren't biting in those 2 weeks, watch out for week 4. I love weeks 2, 3, and 4 of the NFL season. Not that I don't love week 1, but if you have opinions and plan on betting 15 of the 16 games, it's a marathon, not a sprint, people. There were lots of great NFL bets this summer. A handful still remain. Slow and steady wins this race. Steve?
Yeah, it's funny. We're going to have Adam Trigger on here in a moment. And Adam and I were on the baseball show yesterday, and Adam talked about how he's a low volume guy. And Drew Martin said there's nothing wrong with low volume. Some guys are just maybe high volume. And I'm the same way. I'm a selective low volume guy. And the reason being is that the odds are pretty accurate in the majority of games. And if you're seeing value, like you said, Teddy, in 15 of the 16 point spreads, you're probably not seeing anything well, because there's not that much value. They don't make that many mistakes, especially as you said that these games have been bet into now for 3 to 4 months since the summer, way back in May, just like last week's college football. And we've seen some substantial line moves in most of these games as well. One other thing I'll mention is I've been saying this on shows all week. I've been doing this disclaimer for the last 20 plus years. I've been doing this as a full-time professional, and that I used to always say that week 1 was week 5A of the preseason. Now I got to change that. Now it's week 4 of the preseason with an asterisk, because we're going to see results here in week 1 this weekend, this Sunday, that do not correlate to the rest of the season. A lot of times you see a team come out and blow out another team, and then they do nothing, or vice versa. A team that ends up winning 2 games the rest of the year will win in week 1. So it's a semi-preseason still, Teddy, and I think people have to tread lightly for that reason.
The Jaguars had a blowout win week 1 last year. The Green Bay Packers had a blowout loss week 1 last year. Green Bay finished with the best record in the NFC, or one of the best records in the NFC, and Jacksonville finished at the bottom of the AFC standings. Yes, there will be surprises week 1, and there will be surprises that have no impact on the rest of the season. It's just a team played a bad game in the first week, or a team played a good game in the first week. It happens.
And keep in mind, with one less preseason game, you can make an argument it's more likely because they've played even less together in the preseason as opposed to years past. And also, it's less of a contact league than ever. It's more of a pass-happy league. So the timing, the precision offenses are more important. I think there's a lot of ways to argue that more than ever, week 1 might become more random than it has been even in years past. Adam Trigger, we're going to look at some baseball and some college football with you, but I want to get your thoughts real quick on opening night in the NFL tonight and your thoughts on how to proceed with week 1 in general.
Yeah, week 1's tough, Steve. Like Teddy was saying, if you haven't been betting these games all summer, you're probably not going to have a huge week 1 card. I like the Bills tonight. I've been talking about liking this team. It's not a play for me, but that's just the way I lean. But yeah, I've made one bet so far for week 1. It's up. It's a 5% play. Other than that, I can't see myself adding more than 1 or 2 more from now for week 1. That'll be different for me as the season goes on. But yeah, I don't like to bet games a month and a half in advance. So like Teddy was saying, unless you've been locking these in so far, you're probably only going to find a couple spots that are really good for week 1.
Yeah, and keep in mind also, week 1 can lead to some great opportunities in week 2. Like Teddy just said, Jacksonville wins, Green Bay gets blown out last year in week 1, and there will be some overreactions to the week 1 results. So you want to also not only have your power ratings, as always, know what the line should be. Tell yourself now what the line should be for next week. And then when we see some funny results on Sunday, dig into the box scores, the game recaps, and see if those are really legit or maybe if something strange happened, because that's how I like to find value in all sports, is misleading box scores. Let's look at baseball real quick. We got a lot of football here today, college and pro football, with all the guests coming up. But I want to get some baseball because that is actionable info. And, of course, you and I did the baseball show yesterday. I'll be back on the baseball show again today at 1:45 Eastern here every Monday through Friday. So September is here. Football is here. But don't forget about baseball, as that's a daily moneymaker as well. And it's a light card, but we do have a nighttime game, the White Sox at Oakland. Oakland's been one of the worst teams in the league all season long. Chicago has kind of underachieved all season long. How are you approaching this one, Adam?
Yeah, Steve, definitely don't forget about baseball. I'll still be grinding out baseball every day. The only reason I don't have a client baseball play today is because it's such a small board, and this is really the only game I like, and I just don't like to give out client plays at like minus 185, minus 190. But in terms of the matchup and it being a bettable game, I really like the White Sox here. I've been talking about the White Sox on WagerTalk programming for the whole season, basically. And now they've finally gotten it going a little bit, guys. Won 6 of 8, and I love Miguel Cairo. I think it was the best thing to happen to this team. He's a high-energy guy, and reports out of Chicago are that he's really good at communicating with the players, and it's been kind of a breath of fresh air of sorts since he's kind of taken over the daily managerial tasks for La Russa, who's been out with an absence. Here you get Dylan Cease, very well maybe your AL Cy Young this year. He certainly looks like if he pitches well the rest of the way, he's going to win the award. And so if you just want to talk pitching, I think it's a clear advantage with the White Sox. Dylan Cease, 9-4, 1.23 ERA over his last 18 starts. And the White Sox are 19-8 when he pitches, when he starts this season. I really, guys, I think the White Sox are going to win this division. I think if you look at their schedule the rest of the way, it's the easiest. And I think they're going to peak at the right time. Oakland's got JP Sears going here. He's been okay, but he's not going to outpitch Dylan Cease. And I'll take the White Sox bullpen over the A's bullpen. So here, I just think a nice win yesterday for the White Sox. They have all the momentum. If La Russa was the manager, I think that this could be a flat spot. Not with Miguel Cairo. He's got great energy. I like the White Sox to get it done in this game.
Well, I want to ask you about Sears, because Sears, you said he's been okay. Sears has been really good for the A's of late. Last time out, through 6 innings of 2-run ball against Baltimore, he pitched well against the Yankees. He pitched well against Seattle. He pitched well against Texas. He pitched well against the Angels. So he's had 5 starts in an A's uniform, and all 5 of them have been rock solid. When you're talking about laying this type of price against an opposing team with a rock solid starting pitcher on the other side, does that concern you at all? You'd be looking first 5 versus full game. Any thoughts on that as well, Adam?
Well, Teddy, first of all, I think you kind of nailed it. He's not only been good, he's actually been great. Like, he's been outstanding. And there's not many guys I would be okay with sort of opposing him here, especially at this price. But I'm willing to do it with Dylan Cease, because Dylan Cease is probably, I think he's one of the top 2 or 3 pitchers in the American League right now. Opponents are hitting $185 against him this season. And, I keep coming back to the White Sox as they are right now. Miguel Cairo in charge has given them some energy, and I do think there will be an advantage later in this game. The White Sox have the better bullpen. So the way I look at it, if Cease matches JP Sears, which I expect him to do, I'm willing to take the White Sox, even at this price, against an A's team that very well could lose 100 games and is probably the worst team in the league. They're at least the bottom 3 or 4 as far as my ratings go. So Sears has been good, but I'm willing to roll with Cease, and I'm just kind of trying to ride the White Sox on an uptick here, which I think is finally happening after they've sort of, been mediocre all season to this point.
And let me ask you one more follow with that, Adam, real quick, because I'm with you 100% on the White Sox upside right now. This team is 100 times better post La Russa than with La Russa. Is this a team we would look for some futures? Because I look at the Yankees and say they're vulnerable. I look at the Astros and wonder if that pitching's going to hold up. And I'm like, is Chicago a team that we would want to bet let's bet them now to win the American League or World Series? They're a team you're looking at those type of wagers with, because they've piqued my interest. I'll just put it that way.
Teddy, 100%. I took the White Sox to win the AL Central, the American League, pennant, and the World Series prior to the regular season. CT Betts, one of my Hustle co-hosts, and I just jumped back in and took more on them to win the division. This was a week and a half ago, I think at like 3-1, maybe. I'm not sure what it is right this second. I really think the White Sox are going to win the AL Central. And if they do that, Teddy, they're live. Like all you know how playoffs go, right? Like, it's the team that gets hot. So if they come back and win that AL Central, which, the Guardians got walked off by the Royals last night, and they have so many head-to-head spots against the Guardians and Twins down the stretch. If they get in and they win that division, which I think is a good bet, then who knows what's going to happen in the playoffs. But you got Dylan Cease and Lance Lynn starting to pitch like he's capable of. Why not, right? Like, could very well still could be the White Sox here.
Yeah, White Sox currently 2 games behind Cleveland for the division lead, and they're tied with Minnesota in that second spot. However, the Guardians and the Twins both have 2 games in hand. It's a term my dad used to always like. He always likes to look at the loss column, and he has 2 games in hand because the White Sox have played 2 more games. So that might be something that comes down the wire. The other teams do 2 extra games there, but it's a competitive race in the AL Central. La Russa out 5-2 since he's been gone. He could return, the 77-year-old with the medical issue. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. If you got a future bet, you'd have to heads in, I guess, if La Russa comes back. Adam, let's look at a college football game. We're going to look at the Texas San Antonio Roadrunners beep against the Army Cadets on the road. And hey, look, I always love talking about triple option. We saw Navy as the only FBS team last week to lose to an FCS team, a talented Delaware team from ICAA. Army did lose as well against Coastal, who, of course, is a pretty good FBS team nowadays. Army was a slight dog in that game. They lost by 10. Obviously, UTSA played Houston, played them very competitive, lost by 2, a high-scoring shootout. So my question is, does that leave them a little flat here? Now they have to change venue and change style facing that triple option.
Yeah, this is a brutal spot for UTSA for a couple of reasons. One, all of a sudden, Texas San Antonio this year has all sorts of expectations. And as you guys know, it's easy to do something when no one's watching. But now when you have all sorts of expectations, it gets tough. And then on top of that, guys, they lose a triple OT heartbreaker to Houston last week. And on top of that, they have Texas coming up next week, which was like the rah-rah, thing all summer for this UTSA team. The fact that they get to play Texas and, coming off the season last year. I bet Texas San Antonio probably felt like they'd be 2-0 going into that Texas game. I know they were dogs last week, but I still think they had to at least expect that was possible. Now they have to travel up to Army. That's not an easy trip. If you're not familiar with the southern, tier geography in New York State, West Point's not really an easy place to get to. I don't know if they're flying into Newburgh or the city, but it's a tough travel trip. And, Army is really good at home. Like, that's a tough team. They have a great ATS record at home. And guys, last 7 games as an underdog at home, Army is 6-1. I can tell you what the loss is because I was there last year. It was Wake Forest when they were a 3-point dog and lost to the nationally ranked Demon Deacons at home. I was actually supposed to go to this game. Instead, I'm going to a different Army game this year. This is going to be a great crowd. It's an awesome venue. If you've never been to Michie Stadium, it's an incredible place. Guys, I just think that this is a terrible spot for Texas San Antonio with Texas on deck. Army has Villanova coming up, so no look ahead here. And then, of course, you have to prepare for the triple option. I like Army. I would take the points, but I think they win the game.
So I'm curious, Adam, because you said that Army's been a really good home favorite. My numbers show something very different. My numbers show Army as a 40% ATS team as home chalk. I
meant home dog, Teddy.
Oh,
I meant
okay.
home dog. I may have misspoke. Sorry about that.
That's it. That's right. But in terms of a home field edge, I never consider West Point to be one of these places that has a great home field edge. They don't have a great point spread record there. It's not easy to get to, but opposing teams tend to be jacked up to play there. Now, UTSA has had their trouble with Army. They played them twice in the last 4 years, and they got beat up pretty good in both of those meetings. But from a home field edge standpoint, do you look at West Point as being a place that you don't want to be betting against Army against? Because I've had great success betting against them over the years.
So, Teddy, it's a really good point, and I think I want to clarify that I like him as a home underdog. A lot of Army games, you're right, they tend to be chalk at home, and they tend to play a lot of easier home games. I usually hit one Army game per year, and there's usually only 1 or 2 games every time you look at the schedule that are like the game you want to go to. Like this year, it was this game. Last year, I went to Army Wake Forest. That was the game. Other than that, you're right. They end up being favored, and they have a hard time covering as like a multi-touchdown favorite. But here, as a dog, they've been good in the underdog role at home over the past few years. And it comes. I just keep coming back to this spot, Teddy, for UTSA having to go up to New York. They know they've got Texas on deck, and Kel will be on the show in a little bit, and this saying sticks in my head. She's always saying this. Can they lose the Houston game twice? I think they might lose the Houston game twice. You have a devastating loss like that, and some of the week is spent thinking, what could we have done, or what if, not necessarily focused on Army. Then you have Texas next. Just feels like a bad spot to me, so I would be willing to fade the Roadrunners here.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, not only is it a tough spot after the triple overtime loss, but they're at Texas, and they got Texas Southern at home after that. So this is their only non-Texas game in a 4-game span to start off the season for the Roadrunners. And just to put it in perspective how much better they've gotten, they were 12-2 last year, obviously kind of a breakout season for them. When they last played in 2020, as Teddy referenced, Army beat them outright by 14 as a 9.5-point road favorite. And then the year before that, Army was a 14.5-point road favorite and beat them by 18. So it just shows the difference in the last couple of years. We'll see if Texas San Antonio has gone from being a 2-touchdown home dog to a road favorite in just a couple of seasons against the same team. That's Adam Trigger, WagerTalk.com. And Adam, you mentioned you're selective, but you also mentioned that you've got a strong 5% best bet on the site right now. Let us know more about that.
Yeah, so NFL last season was great. Over 58% winners. I think over 30% bankroll gain. We picked up a few units in the NFL preseason, so already off to a good start there. I have a 5% NFL max bet for week 1. It goes on Sunday. And the only college football game I've locked in so far for the weekend, I posted on my page for free. It's a 4% play, and you can get that now. So head over to my page. You get a 4% college football play that's up there for free. 5% max bet in the NFL, and I'll be adding baseball and additional ball all weekend long.
It's Adam Trigger, and you can check him out on multiple shows here, multiple sports on WagerTalk TV. He's one of the reasons we've hit 100,000 subscribers. And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, you're not too late because we're trying to grow on that, as Teddy said. Hit it right now. It takes 3 seconds. We appreciate the support. Leave some comments below as well and a thumbs up. Adam, good luck this weekend. And Teddy, give us about 20 seconds. We're going to talk more college football. NFL tonight on Thursday, but we do have 2 Friday night college football games. You've got Friday night lights for us for the big game breakdown. 20 seconds.
Have you ever wanted to create your own handicapping dream team? You can build your own superstar handicapping lineup using our Pick Your Team program at both WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com. Even more exciting, until Monday, September 12th at midnight, you can save 10% off Pick Your Team using coupon code PYT10 when checking out. Dave Koken, Marco D'Angelo, and Ralph Michaels, JM Sports, Joseph D'Amico, and the Rocket Man. The combinations are endless as you can choose up to 5 handicappers. You start saving once you choose any 2 handicappers of your choice, and you can pay as little as under $6 per handicapper. Who will make up your dream lineup? Go to WagerTalk or Sports Memo, click Pick Your Team, and personally hand select your handicapping roster. Don't forget that coupon code PYT will expire on September 12th, so get your 10% discount and put together your personalized dream team today.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk college football Friday night light style. Boise State traveling to New Mexico right now. Looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing Boise minus 17, total of 44 as their prevailing odds. There are some 16.5s popping up, and there are, well, it's all, just about all 44s right now. This has been a very one-sided series. 37-0 Boise last year, 41-9 Boise in 2019, 45-14 Boise in 2018. Boise's had no problems with the New Mexico Lobos in years past. But this year might be different. All right, there's a lot of concerns in Boise right now. All right, people are freaking out so far. Andy Avalos, just 7-6 straight up last year in his first year in charge. And then now in a situation where he's got to win here now, or people are going to start freaking out. There's already a quarterback controversy in Boise. And we're talking about a pretty stellar coaching tree. The Boise program started its ascension under Houston Nutt, Dirk Cutter, Dan Hawkins, Chris Peterson, Brian Harsin. All of them had great success and went on to bigger and better jobs, every one of them. Avalos might not be that guy. All right, we have a QB controversy. We have an offensive line that got annihilated in game 1. And oh, by the way, they're going up against Rocky Long's defense. Here's what Tim Keene had to say about Rocky Long's defense. He's the Boise offensive line coach. Quote, "It's probably the greatest challenge we'll see all year. In my opinion, top 5 defensive coach in the history of college football. They've got more talent than they had a year ago. They're playing extremely confident, doing crazy stuff. He, meaning Long, is as wacky as he's ever been. They're going to pose a tremendous threat to us. They will cause a lot of problems." So we have a QB controversy. We have a struggling offensive line, and we have a defensive-minded head coordinator on the other side who says he's going to wreak havoc. I don't disagree with that. On the offensive side, I'm not convinced that the Lobos are going to be able to do a whole lot here. You know, Boise's defense still looks rock solid. New Mexico, not a team that's likely to be able to run the football real well. So when you put it all together, we expect Boise's offense to struggle. We expect New Mexico's offense to struggle. These two teams, let's see, Boise's 12-2 to the under the last 14 since 2020. The Lobos are 10-3 to the under their last 13. Yeah, let's ride the prevailing trends and look for a low-scoring affair on Friday night. New Mexico and Boise under the total. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Yeah, we've seen some money on that total as high as 46.5, 47, and now it's 44, as you mentioned, across the board. And that's a pretty low total nowadays for college football. The game's average in the mid-50s, obviously. And with 17-point road favorite, that's something I keep an eye on. So we'll see how that plays out. little Friday Night Lights from Teddy Covers. That goes at 9 o'clock Eastern Friday night. We do have an FCS game tonight for anybody interested. Tennessee Martin, Missouri State, but I think most people will be watching the NFL kickoff between the Bills and Rams. Let's talk some more college football. We're going to get to Kelly Stewart in a little bit. We got Jimmy Adams to talk some football first, though. And Jimmy, I want to get into one of the bigger games on the board this week. I'll be doing a top 25 preview video talking about a lot of the big games this weekend here on WagerTalk TV. But I just did my ESPN radio hit with the Tennessee Valley, Alabama area about 20 minutes before this show. And the host, big Alabama fans, they follow him closely. They were surprised this line was 20. It seemed a little high. My power ratings have it around 16, so it does look like maybe there's a premium in this line. Obviously, Alabama's a team that normally has a premium, although last week I actually had a strong best bet for my clients at WagerTalk.com on the Tide minus 41.5. They won 55-0. I do think the line's a little inflated this week, though. What's your thoughts on this big game, Alabama at Texas on Saturday?
Yeah, a little bit inflated line, but it's not going to matter. Circa hangs an 18. It gets bet up immediately. So Quinn Ewers, we know that he's one of the most highly touted quarterbacks to ever come out of high school, really. And he's probably going to have a great career, but he's not ready to face this Bama defense. They can't simulate it in practice. He's certainly never seen anything like it in high school. And it's going to be a rough second start for Ewers. And I'm high on this Texas team. I think they have a chance to win the Big 12. But again, not ready for this game. Every year there's a team that thinks they can hang with Bama and win and cover, and every year they just get beat down. So let's take a look at some recent history. 2021, Miami was going to do it. Nope, they lose 44-13. 2020, Texas A&M was going to try and take down the Tide. They lose 52-24. 2019, Bama didn't play any high-profile teams early on. They just dominated everyone. 2018, a 51-14 win over Louisville. 2017, a 24-7 win over Florida State. The list goes on and on. We have enough of a sample size now to see that it just doesn't happen. These teams that are on the rise that are just not quite at Bama's level yet. Will Anderson is a generational type talent. He's going to absolutely wreak havoc against Ewers. And lastly, the environment will not really affect this Bama team. Obviously, fresh off that national championship appearance, they're not going to be phased going into Austin. At less than 3 touchdowns, I'm all over the Crimson Tide this week.
So my numbers are showing Alabama as a road favorite as being a 500 ATS team since 2013. Got them at 18-18 against the spread as road chalk. You talked about all the success they've had back in the day on the road. Last year, they played 4 road games. They lost 1. They won 2 of them by exactly 2 points, and they had the 1 blowout win. So it wasn't like they were beating teams on the margin, on the road by margin last year. Alabama, the most public team in the country, off a huge blowout win in week 1. Everyone's talking about Bama. Everyone's talking about Bama first half. This is where the value is in college football this week?
So you're not going to be getting any value, but I do think they're going to cover the number. And so, yeah, you talked about the number that I'm covering on the road or whatever. But my point was that they always play a team that thinks they're good and think they can hang with them early in the season, and it just never turns out that way. I think this is going to be an absolute Crimson Tide beatdown as they flex once again against a former Nick Saban coach.
It's Alabama, and it's anywhere from 18.5 to 19.5. I see a lot of 20s out there starting to pop. So if you do like Bama, you probably want to lock it in if you can still get a 19.5. 20, a fairly key number. And that once again is Alabama at Texas on Saturday. And Jimmy, I want to ask you about another game from my neck of woods. I wouldn't say it's my Virginia Cavaliers. I was never a big Virginia fan, although I've warmed up to the Charlottesville area here in recent years. But Virginia goes to Illinois, and the new head coach, Elliott, he had his debut against Richmond last week, kind of a lackluster win, a non-covering 17-point win against the Richmond Spiders. Illinois, though, is playing their 3rd game of the season, and that was one of those teams that failed to cover last week with the game in hand, losing to Indiana 23-20. So does Illinois bounce back this week? Does Virginia get better as well with the new coach? How are you approaching this one?
Yeah, so this is my live dog alert. So the Tony Elliott era got started off in good form. They had a nice win, and I'm not going to read too much into that. Elliott obviously comes over after working with the offense at Clemson the last few years. So all the are in for Virginia to have a really explosive offense once again. Behind Brennan Armstrong, the Cavs had the second most efficient passing attack in the nation last year. That attack was obviously on full display in their 42-14 beatdown of the Illini last year. So like I said, the skill position talent's there, but the defense is going to have to be better. And that's, I'm sure Teddy will give me a follow-up here, but the defense has to be better, and the offensive line has some question marks as well. But then we look at an Illinois team that, what did they do? They beat a really bad Wyoming team, and then they lost to Indiana last week all over 4 times. They have a bunch of penalties for the second game in a row. I believe it was 8. And, the offense wasn't good in 2021. They failed to score more than 20 points in the last 10 games. They ranked 10th in the conference in yards and 11th in scoring, and they probably should have been lower than that. So they're not going to be able to stop Virginia's offense. That mixed with some more self-inflicted wounds, and we're getting more than a field goal. We have a live dog alert on our hands with Virginia Saturday.
So, Jimmy, first, let me say, I think I was too harsh on you with the Alabama. I'm like, that's what you find. When you see something, you bet. I get that. And I sure as hell, I'm not on Texas this week. All right. So, I don't mean to give you grief. All that being said, I used Indiana as a big game breakdown play last week as a free play for the clients as well. And they were a wrong side winner. All right. Illinois was, if you watch the game, it wasn't close. Illinois was way the better team. But they spent a lot of time with the shotgun aiming at their feet, like a lot of the Illini have done many times in recent years. But off a game like that, where they blew a winnable game in revenge for a team that embarrassed them last year, and in the trenches, Illinois is loaded. Offensive line and defensive line. This is as good as I've seen the Illini in years, and that is not necessarily Virginia's strength. Are you worried about any of that stuff? Because to me, it feels like a bounce back spot for the Illini. If I'm going to bet against you on one of these two, it would be this one.
Yeah, no, great points as always. You always make great rebuttals, and I appreciate it because of your, you've been in this business a lot longer than me. But yeah, there's a reason that Virginia is a dog here. I mean, in the trenches, they are going to get beat. Illinois does have a strong run defense. At least that's what we've seen the first couple weeks. So I'm counting on them to be able to pass, and I'm counting on them to be able to score. And I'm also hoping that Illinois continues to turn the ball over. Fixing turnovers is, not always the easiest thing to change and turn around quickly in just a week's time. So if they can get a couple turnovers and we can see some sort of life out of this Cavalier defense, then I think Virginia at least could cover this game. So I'll be siding with that as well.
It's Jimmy Adams, live dog alert. We need like a sound effect for that, some kind of barking noise in the background. See, Prez would have done the barking sound. I'm too professional. I don't do that. But hey, Jimmy, you got that free play posted right now. And more importantly, you've got a pair of 5% best bets. And you are 5% Jimmy because you're 20-7, 74% run on 5% plays. Tell us about those.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge weekend. This will be the most money I'll have wagered so far in 2022. So there's a pair of games that I really like. One goes off tomorrow, one goes off Saturday. They're both in college football. I'm also in action tonight for the opening of the NFL season. 5% plays have been great, 74.1%. So we're going to keep that going this week. And what I hope is going to be a phenomenal week. Head over to WagerTalk and get some plays and get plays from all the great handicappers we've got going. Let's have a weekend.
And once again, you heard it from him. He's playing these games big. He recommends you do as well. It's Jimmy Adams. He's from Reno originally, Teddy, so he's got wagering in his blood, and he's got 2 big 5% plays going at wagertalk.com, Jimmy Adams. And let's finish it off with some more football talk. Kelly Stewart, one of the busiest women in showbiz in sports betting, and she makes some time for us every Thursday here on Wager Talk Today. And Kelly, great to see you again. We caught up a few weeks ago in Vegas. Glad that we all made it back safely. And so Prez is out today, Kelly. He is golfing with his dad, which I think is actually fantastic. He's doing that. And his dad apparently is heading down to Florida in a few weeks. So you're going to have Prezman Sr. in your neck of the woods for the rest of the winter if you want to batten down the hatches or whatever the term might be.
The good news for me is I won't be here.
And so I've talked to Prez's dad. He's like Prez on steroids. Okay.
Wow.
I haven't met him.
Is that possible?
He gets it from.
I just assumed you actually thought you like him.
You know, I would say that I'm going to go down and join him for dinner while I am in the state of Florida, but I know I'd get stuck paying the bill, so I'll just save myself the hassle and go back to Kansas a couple more times to open up this new sports book.
That's right. I forgot your home state, Kansas, has the betting now, so that's good stuff. We got here in Virginia a couple years ago. Teddy's had it his whole life in Nevada, so he's ahead of us. But yeah, it's good stuff, and Kelly does a lot of great work with Barstool Sports, so keep an eye on that as well. Kelly, you sent over the Pitt game to talk about. I'm assuming that's the college football game, but they both actually have the exact same point spread as the Steelers and Bengals. But yeah, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Panthers in college football. What are you looking at in this game?
That's funny because I actually am going to release the Steelers as well on Twitter, but that's in for tomorrow. My best bet we'll get to here in a minute for this week, but I do love the Pitt Panthers here. And this is just really, Steve, me playing on some overreactions. That's what I'm looking at this week. I joked with one of my colleagues at Barstool that everybody stop overreacting, but that is what people do. They watched the games last week. Now they remember that in their brain. This team good, this team bad, run to the window, bet the same team that you just saw. And unfortunately, that's not how the math works. Tennessee, by all means, looked great against Ball State. Of course they did. They played Ball State. On the flip side, did bet on it yesterday with Marco D'Angelo, and he said, man, aren't you a little worried that after the backyard brawl, Pitt may not have enough in the tank? I said, yeah, the good news is it was played on Friday, so if you want to look at it as a quote-unquote little bit longer of a rest period, I don't really take that into consideration here, but 6.5 is just entirely too high. And I'm even starting to see 7s pop up on the WagerTalk odds screen. I'm absolutely floored here. This is a Pat Narduzzi team that as a favorite, I love to fade. Why? Because he likes to kick bonehead field goals, as Teddy and I spoke about last week. That being said, I do think we're going to see a absolute dogfight here, and the points are going to be at a premium. I really do understand, and I don't want to discredit what I think the Vols are going to be able to accomplish this year, but the fact that there's so many talking heads just all over Tennessee to go over their season win total, to win the SEC East, which is just insane to me. Like, everybody calm down. Nobody rush to the window and lay almost a touchdown on the road with a team who really hasn't shown much outside of beating up a bad team. Pitt, on the other hand, I think we know what we're going to get with this team.
So Pitt got annihilated defensively last week, and Pitt loses that game if Neil Brown decides to go for it on fourth down. Probably loses that game by multiple scores. And instead, Neil Brown punts the ball back, and then Pitt marches down the field, scores a tying touchdown, and gets a pick six for the winning score. But their defense got lit up in that game. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. And West Virginia's offense doesn't hold a candle to Tennessee's offense. Are you worried at all about that Pitt defense slowing down the Volunteers' attack?
I do have my concerns, Teddy, especially when you see that last game. But I also understand that I don't think that Pitt thought that they were going to get the fight they did from West Virginia. When I gave out West Virginia, I can tell you that Twitter didn't think they were going to get that fight either. Everybody said, what are you talking about? You think West Virginia can win this game? Whenever you have a rivalry game like that, you should be ready, but those teams hadn't played each other in over a decade. And Pitt, coming off their successes for last year, maybe got a little bit of a dose of reality in that game. And I think they're going to be ready to put up a big fight against the Vols here. I do, of course, have my concerns defensively, but I think maybe some of the amount of times they got beat last week, right? They did end up covering with that pick six, as you mentioned. And there was a couple other things that defense did well. But I do, of course, have my concerns because we do know that you're always paying a premium for an SEC type team like Tennessee. Now, 6.5 is where I have to draw the line. If the line was 3, we wouldn't even be talking about this game. If the line was 4.5, probably still not. But catching almost a touchdown here at home, which I do think it will get to by kick, I think it's just gotten to the point of just a little too out of control. I made the game personally 4.5. Again, the opening line was a lot closer to what the reality is, I think, as far as the final score is going to indicate here. But yes, I'm going to need Pat Narduzzi not to make any bonehead mistakes as far as kicking, and I'm definitely going to need that defense to be able to shut someone down on that Tennessee offense.
Yeah, and Kelly, you make a great point about overreacting to week one. We talked about it at the top of the show. I said some of the best value isn't going to be this week in the NFL. It's going to be learning from this week and using it next week when we have those non-correlated results, right? That don't transfer to the rest of the season. And
Yeah,
I love doing that in college football.
Absolutely. You got to keep an eye out for what the lines are for week 2 this week. A lot of bookmakers will put them out, and they've been out for all season long at the Barstool Sportsbook. Look at the differences from what happens this weekend to what happens before next weekend's games are played. And you get sometimes 3 points of value there with a team that maybe just kind of fell flat on their face week 1, or a scrappy underdog in a divisional game. Those type of overreactions are absolutely gold in the NFL.
Yeah, the only game I've missed this year was actually Pitt. I had both Tennessee and Pitt last week, and either push or a loss. Obviously, Pitt's either 4-0 or 4-1. So this will be an interesting game for me. My power ratings actually come out to about 6.5. I'm going to use this in that top 25 video. But one other thing I'll say real quick is Pitt did throw the ball extremely well last week, almost 13 yards per pass, and that was important to me because they have Coach Wallace. I thought the best quarterback in college last year, Kenny Pickett, who's now on the other Pitt team, the Steelers. We're also a 6.5-point dog, and Kelly's going to have more of that on Twitter. So check out our Twitter feed for some NFL picks. Before we let you go, though, I do want to talk NFL. Probably the biggest game, at least on the late afternoon card Sunday. The spotlight game is Packers at Vikings. Not much line move on this one. It's held around 1.5 most of the summer. I know you like teasers. I would say Minnesota maybe is a live teaser at plus 7.5 or more. Which way are you going in this game?
No, you're absolutely right, Steve. This is the week for the teasers. Gotta have. I'm not even going to tell you how many teasers I have. Every combination of Rams starting tonight, finishing with Sunday night with the Cowboys, and everything in between. Browns, Jags, Vikings. I think it's going to be an excellent teaser week, and that is where I am focusing. But last year, Best Bets did really well. The year before, Best Bets and NFL did even better. So I'm hoping I can keep this one game every single week in the NFL to be my bread and butter. We know that the NFL market is one of the hardest to beat. So I do always like to practice a little bit more discipline on Sundays than I do on Saturdays. And that's why I'm going with the Vikings this week as my best bet. Everybody knows I came on WagerTalk Today. We talked about it. I tweeted about it, how much I love the Vikings to win the NFC North, how much I like the Vikings to go over their season win total, how I expect Kirk Cousins to go over his passing yards, how I expect Dalvin Cook to have over 9.5 rushing touchdowns, and how disappointed I was in Johnny Detroit's fantasy football league that Justin Jefferson went 4th and I didn't get him at the 5th pick. That being said, this is a Aaron Rodgers Packers team that it doesn't matter who his receivers are. He's going to find somebody. So this has nothing to do with the Packers and everything to do with the Vikings, who have covered 4 of their last 5 versus the Packers. If this was a primetime game, we wouldn't even be talking about it. This is one of those knockout, drag-out, NFC North afternoon games that I think the Vikings are going to come out on top. And as you mentioned, Steve, perfect teaser opportunity, especially for some of these divisional spots. And I do not see one side or the other blowing themselves out here. I could easily see this being a 27-24 type final, higher scoring game for these two. But it's yet to be seen, but I do really, really like the Vikings this year, and it starts with week 1.
So I want to ask you about your love for Minnesota, because you're not the only person I've heard talking up the Vikings.
And that concerns me.
I don't see it, Kel. I don't see it. I'm curious, like, what do you see on this team that the statistical profile for Cousins and his receivers is solid? But I've got concerns about the offensive line. The defense wasn't good last year. You have a coaching change. Everyone says the coaching change is automatically going to be better. Now they're going to be, but this wasn't a Joe Judge in New York where, everyone had no idea what he was doing and everyone hated him. And I look at Minnesota, a team that I have depth concerns about them. I have defensive concerns about them. And Green Bay, for all the concerns about the offense, man, that defense is loaded. So talk to me a little bit about your like for your Minnesota respect.
So let's start about the coaching change. I loved Coach Zimmer, and I think everybody knew that, mainly because he covered games. Whether he won games, it didn't matter. He covered games. He went for that touchdown, didn't kick that field goal, whatever it means. Come to find out, him and Kirk Cousins didn't like each other too much, and we didn't hear about that until after Zimmer's departure. Well, now Kirk's got a coach that I would say is, quote-unquote, on his team. If you remember, he was one of his coaches at the Washington, I guess they would have been the Redskins at that time. That being said, I do think that there's a nice rapport there. I do think that he's going to continue to run a similar style offense, be able to focus on the running game, and be able to give Kirk Cousins more time, because ultimately that's been Kirk's issue. He's not an elite quarterback. He's never going to be an elite quarterback, but I do think that he is a solid B-level quarterback, especially when he's got weapons like Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, not to mention a couple of rookies that are going to be coming in here. Macy, nice little wide receiver 3, 4 spot. That being said, I expect Dalvin Cook to be able to get the running game going, which is going to open up the offense for this team. Teddy, 100%. Is that defense a liability? Did they go out and really make any big changes this year? No, they did not. If that defense can stay healthy and take a step forward from last year, and that is really what I'm banking on here, is more so that the rapport within the locker room is better, that this team as a whole is going to get better and take a step forward. And to say that I'm betting against the Packers is really not factual, right? We know that the NFC North, by all means, since Aaron Rodgers has been there, has been his kingdom. He has been sitting on top of that throne outside of, I think, 2 different seasons. So it's not a bet against the Packers, who, yes, have a great defense outside of Kevin King. You want to beat the Packers? Just attack Kevin King every single play, and you might get yourself a NFC championship. That being said, we'll see how it plays out here on Sunday, but this week is tough. We have 10 road favorites, and if you guys follow me at all, you know that is just an immediate, like, I really don't want much to do with them. I know that I don't want to say I don't bet them at all, but for the most part, they just get right off the list. Well, if you got 10 games right off the list, it's slim pickings. It was between the Vikings and the Steelers this week. I do like the Steelers. I told Marco that I thought his team would be okay with Mitch Trubisky, especially in a divisional game with the Super Bowl losers. But I had to go with the Vikings here and basically just make a decision on which was going to be my best bet.
Yeah, and I mean, keep in mind, Kevin O'Connell was the offensive coordinator for the Rams last year. So we've got some talent coming in there. And Kirk Cousins, Pro Football Focus has his the 5th best rated quarterback the last 3 years combined. So that could be the X factor there for me.
I asked my fantasy football team to draft him as our backup quarterback, and I got nothing but pushback, so I let that one go. We have Derek Carr, though, and I don't hate that pick either, but we'll see. I'm excited to see if Kirk can really take that step forward this year as far as being able to run that offense. Maybe he's going to be allowed to open it up a little bit more. But more than anything,
that's the real X factor. I mean, I do. I agree with you. I think that could be the real X factor. It could also be make or break season for Cousins. Kelly, one other thing, and the Steelers, I think also could be an upside team this year after last year. But the Vikings had 6 games decided on the final play last year. 6 games.
And something has to give, right, Steve? We know that there's variance involved here from a statistical analysis, and teams that lost in close games, we usually see that flip at some point in time. So we'll see if it can't. The ball bounces the Vikings' way a couple of games this year, and they can't cash that plus 275 to win the NFC North for me.
Yeah, see, win totals are around 9. They went 8, 9, and 7 the past 2 years. Once again, 6 games, final play. Last year, they started off with 3-point loss and a 1-point loss at Arizona, so it's kind of tough 0-2 schedule on the road there. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think the Vikings could be a play-on team this year as well. We'll see what happens. That's Kelly Stewart. She knows her football, and she is busy this time of year, but she likes it. And, Kelly, where else can they find you?
Keeps me out of trouble, Steve. Keeps me out of trouble.
Right.
When I'm busy, I can't make a lot of mistakes.
Where should they look for you? You talk about Barstool, you talk about Kansas coming online. I mean, what else you got going on?
Absolutely. Anybody that's going to be in Kansas this weekend, we are going to be at the Hollywood Casino. Saturday night, I will say this, Megan and I are going to be late. We're going to go to the K-State Missouri game in the morning. That is a 9 a.m. Pacific kickoff. So hopefully be around Hollywood Casino in the Barstool Sportsbook by late game kickoff. Fingers crossed. I'd like to be there by 6:37. And then we're going to have some dinner there. Then Sunday, we're going to go to the Kansas Speedway. Should be a great time. My first NASCAR race. How I'm going to juggle, Steve, whether it's NFL, NASCAR, I can just see me with my phone now trying to figure it out. I'm going to reach out to our good friend Todd Furman and ask for some cars bets, just so I have a little bit of rooting interest. And Sunday night back at the casino for Sunday Night Football. Going to host a party. Come down. I'll buy some beers. Yep, they're not comped. I found out my great state of Kansas finally got sports betting, but they still don't have the alcohol laws right. But I'll be the one starting a tab and making sure we all have a great time.
We'll be interested to see if you can bring the beers into Kansas Motor Speedway. I haven't been to that track, but Vegas about 12 years ago was one of the saddest things ever. I got there. There were thousands of beers stacked because you couldn't bring them into Vegas like we can here in Richmond. So that's always interesting. And by the way, last week, Eric Jones, a 50-1 long shot wins at Darlington. 9 of the 16 playoff drivers are outside the top 10. So you missed some craziness last week. Hopefully you'll see a good race at Kansas. It's a little more predictable, normal. But Kelly Stewart in Kansas from Florida. Kelly in Vegas originally. You get the deal. That's Kelly Stewart, WagerTalk.com. Kelly, thanks for joining us. And Teddy, great show. Prez will be back tomorrow on Friday, as long as him and Presman Sr. don't get in too much trouble golfing today. Good luck tonight, everybody, with the NFL. And once again, thanks for getting us to 100,000 subscribers. Thank you for hitting 29 million views yesterday. WagerTalk TV, going places, and it's all because of you, the viewers out there that support us on a daily basis. Let's keep this great content free. Subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts. I'll have my Fade the Public video and my college football top 25 the next couple days. Also, leave comments below. I read all the comments. I reply back. We all appreciate the support. Teddy, take us home.
Sure. I want to thank Adam Trigger, Kelly Stewart, and, of course, Jimmy Adams for sharing their content with us. And I want to thank all of you out there in listener and viewer land for taking time out of your busy day to spend with us here on WagerTalk tomorrow, same time, same channel. Between now and then, enjoy the games and good luck on the opening night of the NFL season.
Have you ever wanted to create your own handicapping dream team? You can build your own superstar handicapping lineup using our Pick Your Team program at both WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com. Even more exciting, until Monday at midnight, you can save 10% off Pick Your Team using coupon code PYT10 when checking out. Dave Koken, Marco D'Angelo, and Ralph Michaels, JM Sports, Joseph D'Amico, and the Rocket Man. The combinations are endless, as you can choose up to 5 handicappers. You start saving once you choose any 2 handicappers of your choice, and you can pay as little as under $6 per handicapper. Who will make up your dream lineup? Go to WagerTalk or Sports Memo, click Pick Your Team, and personally hand select your handicapping roster. Don't forget that coupon code PYT will expire on September 12th, so get your 10% discount and put together your personalized dream team today.